So, how many expectations do you have in your business? Expectations, I think, show up all over our businesses, don't they? Whether those are revenue goals or client behavior or some kind of elusive productivity standards. And I'm smiling at that one because, oh my goodness, that used to be such a big one for me. Probably still lurks around in the background somewhere, even now. Our social media metrics, maybe. Now, I'm not going to say don't have those things, don't have revenue goals, don't have expectations about how your clients behave. Don't have maybe don't have productivity standards. Please don't have those. But I think what I want to talk about today is the pressure that we can create right now on ourselves by trying to keep up with some concept of ourselves in the future. So, how that played out for me was I remember years and years ago, I was working with a business coach and we were using the 12-week year planning system. If you haven't come across that, just look it up. You'll find it on the internet somewhere. And that involves taking the year, dividing it into 4 equal parts of 13 weeks, and then planning 12 weeks at a time. Now, I kinda like it better than massively long-term planning because at least you're kinda just looking at 12 weeks rather than, sometimes looking at like a 3-year plan or a big plan that can just hinder your breathing, I think, to be honest. So you take the 12 weeks, you give yourself 2 or 3 reasonable sized goals to achieve in that 12 weeks, and you proceed to plan out every single week in terms of the actions you're going to take. Now that's ludicrous, isn't it, really? Can you see that it's ludicrous? Because after week 1 or 2, when you've taken some action, surely we need the feedback from the real world out there to take the next step. But actually, all we're doing really is when we're making the 12-week plan, which let me tell you, used to take me until about week 2 or 3 because I was the resistance to it was so ridiculous. Um, when we're making it, we're assuming too much about the world out there and how it's going to respond to what we do. We're in our heads again, aren't we? I this question that I ask my clients all the time is, are you in your head or in the world right now? Like, where are you? Because if you are not in the world, actually taking action and getting feedback from the real world, and then taking some other action, then getting a bit more feedback, you're living in expectation. You're assuming that what you think is going to happen is right. And that's us making up stuff about the future. And much as that might feel like certainty, it isn't. It's your thoughts in the present moment about the future. And it's not true because nothing that we think about the future is true. It's a big fat juicy lie, quite frankly. It just isn't true. It's not true what we think about the future. And the issue with all of that is that, well, the first thing is that it creates such a lot of friction. So it's I've talked about this before where life is doing its lifey movie, curly, turning sharp sometimes, smooth sometimes thing. Life is lifing. And here is our expectations, like a big straight you will be like this life, be straight line. And that is friction, the expectations against what life actually creates. And then we end up feeling really bad about ourselves because we haven't, you know, we, It hasn't landed how we think it should. Now, the the things where that can come up are so many. I'm right in the middle of one at the moment, really, if I think about it, that I had this idea to launch a little mini course about productivity and a webinar coming up very soon about that. And it doesn't seem to have landed with people. Well, that's okay. Then I need to sit quietly with myself and contemplate what's next rather than think that I did it wrong or whatever. It's not that. It's just I think without expectations, there's this freedom to just keep trying things and keep playing with things and keep putting ourselves out there. If every time we go to do a new thing, it's laden with it has to work out this way or it's a failure, there's just it's just a lot there, isn't there, in terms of how we can end up feeling about ourselves and even how we can end up feeling about even having a business in the first place. But what about if we saw each action in the present moment as just the next step of trying things out and playing? I was at a networking event the other day and a gentleman asked me, he said, how's business? And I said, fun. That's what I said back. I said, it's fun. And he kind of looked at me. At first, he looked a bit shocked. And then he said, I said, it's fun and it's playful and it's an adventure and I'm just trying things and learning as I go. And he said, after he had his moment of shock, he said, that's really refreshing to hear that. It is refreshing because without all that heavy expectation, there is just the next thing you're going to do. And I haven't always felt this way about business, as I'm sure you realise from some of the stories I've told. But I'm getting there, and there's so much relief, and the relief comes from seeing that all these things that we're creating we're almost creating the stresses as we go. So we're shoulding all these things of ourselves. It should work like this out there in the world. We're doing all this shoulding, and then we're not seeing that it's not really any of that that's causing the stress. It's the word should that's causing the stress, because a situation not turning out how we think it should is not actually able to make you feel stressed. It is that you're saying it should be different. It's back to here's life doing its lifey thing. And sometimes I think it's, quite frankly, sticking two fingers up at us all. And we're going, no, but you're not, you're supposed to be like this. So what if we just put down, even if just for a little while, these imagined futures of what business is supposed to be like, and we settled into now? Maybe that might involve breathing a little bit and having the occasional pause. The last week or so, I've been so caught out by not listening. Well, the last few weeks, by not listening to my own intuitive nudges and getting caught up into what my business should look like by now or where it should be by now. And that's caused me to make decisions that have not been right, really. And there's been consequences to that, because the decisions I was making have come from a place of panic that it should be different. My business should be different. I should be further on, or whatever it is. But for me, one of, my buzzword often, you have a word of the year, and mine is usually around simplicity. I want things to be simpler. So that's a direction to look in for me, I think. But the main thing is about this burden of expectations is that it's not happening now. What would you do if you didn't have that burden of expectations? What would you do next? just from now? And I'm asking that question to myself as well as to you, because I can see places where I'm just sort of not quite listening. Not quite listening. I've listened this morning a little bit to myself when I do a lot of things on Insight Timer, and you may have connected with me there. But if you haven't, please do. Today, my course about expectations comes out. It's released today. So, and it's out on the app on Insight Timer now. So if that interests you in just exploring this thing about expectations a little more, you could check out that course. Or you could just reach out to me for a conversation with absolutely no, I don't know what the word is. What's the word? With no, you don't have to do anything else. Just come for the conversation. Let's talk about this. And let's just try and bring a bit of ease to business. Let's step into the idea that being in business can feel good. It doesn't have to be horrible. And yet it can seem that way. It really can. So I hope that's helpful. I hope there's a bit of spaciousness there. I hope it feels better, because for me, that's the most important thing. Does it feel good? And thank you so much for being here and listening in, checking in, and supporting my content. Take care. Lots of love. I'll see you again soon.